Hello friends. Today I wanted to take some time to reflect about imperfect practice, broken practice, practice where you are multitasking and double screening between your daily responsibilities and a moderate inner look simultaneously, where you pay attention to the space where external reality, or at least apparent external reality, and internal reality meet. I think like most of you, like most people, I had a pre-parenting time of practice a few years where I would religiously set time aside for meditation or for yoga. Phone was off, computer was off, door was closed, and there was no one who was going to come in my space, unless it was going to be for practice as well. In that case, Jenny often. Or if I would practice with a group of friends or in a yoga studio, it would be only sharing space for practice. But over time, two things happen. I think life gets a little more complicated as you start having children, responsibilities. Some of us get really busy. Sometimes you have to take care of others. Maybe it's not a child, but maybe it's your parents when they're getting older. And another thing that happens is that your formal practice has given some fruits already. And then there is a bigger percentage of your day that gets occupied by the thoughts, the feelings, the reflections, and the awareness that you normally would only experience during practice. So the idea of sharing the internal and the external spaces as a recipient for your attention becomes doable, and sometimes becomes almost like the only way that through some of the most busy years of your life you can actually dedicate time to the inner exploration. So let's say you have children. Let's say that you have a dog. Or let's say that your day has been so busy that when the evening comes, you have the desire to enjoy yourself a little, and you have the desire to entertain yourself a little, and you have the desire to distract yourself a little, and you have the desire to just forget about problems for a bit, and at the same time you have the desire that all of this not necessarily becomes shallow and superficial, but you might not have 5 hours ahead of you to watch a movie and eat some cake and then do some yoga and then pranayama and then meditation and then eat some more cake at the end. You might just have an hour for all of them. So in these circumstances, a few years ago I would not even consider practicing. Practice was very much on a pedestal and needed its own time aside, almost a ritualistic admiration for the practice time. I think we all have that moment that we've become slightly materialist and precious, Genesis precious about our practice. But yeah, it comes a time that you lose that preciousness. You sit with yourself in an environment which has possible distractions, and you coexist with people, or in this case animals, who might disturb the steadiness of your focal point. When I practice this way, my attention is inside to begin with. I take it as if it was formal practice. I observe my breath, I observe the sensations in my body, I observe my thoughts. But soon, something from the outside will call your attention. Mommy, can I have a glass of milk? Or honey, what is that email that we're looking for with the spreadsheet, with the accountancy for X, Y, or Z person? So your attention will go from wherever it is inside to an external reality, to a person, to a thought, to an action, maybe standing up and doing something. That I find very interesting. The swinging the swinging movement of my attention from the inside of my experience, what is private to me alone, to the outside of my experience, where another human being or an external entity shares my attention space. And I observe if it is at all possible to keep a percentage of my awareness internally. I observe if the movement out is internally criticized, if I feel disappointment, or if I feel like somehow the act of reverting attention outwardly, if somehow carries a lesser importance for me, if it frustrates me. Once the external demand for attention has finished, I revert once again to the inside. Did something change? Did the external, let's call it distortion, distorted my inner life? How smooth is the process of shifting attention out and in? How humble am I in the maintenance of my own practice while the world is challenging it? how elastic am I to like now, how elastic am I to let this fly exercise around the microphone, disturbing my aspiration for a clean sound. So I find this imperfect divided practice is a great ground for developing humility. The implication that lies behind a perfect practice is that me and my sorrows and my fears and my growth and my expansion and my predicament and me is of such importance that everything in the world should be suspended for a few minutes for me to work on me and look at me and love me and tend to me. So when the me is divided by the many, there is a egoic wound. There is an egoic shame almost. So that gives an opportunity for not taking ourselves so seriously. Gives an opportunity to place equal importance on a child asking for a glass of milk or a dog playing with the sun, to you discovering the meaning of life and your place in the universe. Why would that be any more important? And by understanding as well through this imperfect practice that we are continuously colliding with externals, that whether we like it or not, whether we resent it or not, whether we need it or not, the externals in our life are equally internal because we cannot live without them. We cannot live without food, we cannot live without interactions, we cannot live without a society that provides me with many of the services that I cannot provide to myself. So through the interdependence with the environment and those who live in it, I understand that what I call me needs to expand. Everything is me. That annoying email is me. That leaking toilet is me. That noisy neighbor is me. So the attention moving in and out is moving from one side of me to another side of me. And by surrendering to that fact without the necessity to condemn it and resent it, by accepting the humility that comes with it, there is a relaxation of the mind, and there is a cessation, I find, of the clinging for some type of perfection to lead the way for my well-being and my happiness. And if the I is softer, if the humility is wider, if what I include under the umbrella of my identity is a greater number of people, events, situations, And if the elasticity of the focus can return to the internal experience without making a big deal, without making a huge drama, oh, my practice has been broken now, oh, my great practice. What a great yogi if I need for my practice to be great, yeah? But if all those things are in place, I think a little smile in the corner of the eyes of the meditator appear, where meditation loses its preciousness, maybe, its solemnity, but it instead gains in warmth and in friendliness. It becomes friends, not just with yourself, but it becomes friends with your distractions, so that those distractions that before were a source of annoyance, now they aren't. Because the trials and tribulations of the lower self are no obstacle for the higher self to know himself, to experience himself, and to love himself, because he does so in everything that encounters, and definitely in all the circumstances that the lower self is experiencing. My imperfect practice. I wish you many imperfect practices, many, many deep ones, and then some perfect practices as well. They do help too.